Hi. Just reflecting on my final video and the clinical as a whole, I think that I was very, very scared coming into this program, and I'm kind of sad that it's over. But with regards to my final video, I think that it went pretty well. I'm not sure if I covered all of the standards 100%, but I did try. I'll just be running through the standards in groups and saying how I think things went. So with regard to standards 1, 2, and 3, I think that I did a good job with differentiation, with having two different activities for the lesson, depending on how well the students could do. The activity for the orange group was very challenging, so it kind of took a little bit longer than anticipated. I think the lesson, despite the fact that I ran out of time, I think it was paced well, and that the lessons, activities, and what we did flowed into one another really nicely. So it was well sequenced. And just with regard to having students feel valued, or creating a positive classroom environment, for example, just having, for example, the one student who was sort of on the wrong track, I could tell she was on the wrong track, but still kind of let her explain her thinking so that she's not just shut down. And yeah, just having activities that they're actively involved in and making it meaningful and relevant for them. With regard to standards 4 and 5, I think that an important part of this lesson and the social studies unit as a whole for us is making meaningful connections and making it a very real life concept, and they are really enjoying earning money and learning about saving, learning about how to spend money and needs and wants, and they're very looking forward to their market day, which is actually tomorrow. I think they're going to have a great time. They've done advertising for it. Just this whole build up of the social studies unit has just been excellent for them. Yeah, I think that we incorporated technology well, using video sometimes, presentations other times, letting them look stuff up using our classroom iPads, letting them look stuff up on the internet. And that also just encouraged a lot of higher order thinking. For example, we had a 10-minute long discussion that's not in the video about why we need money in the first place, and what happened when we didn't have money before. What did people do before money? Because it is a need. They were like, we do need it to survive, but not physically. So it was a very interesting discussion. With regard to assessment and standards 6 through 8, I think that small formative assessments, even if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down activity, is really useful and effective. The formative assessment at the end of the PowerPoint presentation, for example, where just to be able to sit down, they have to tell me, is it goods or services? And just constantly monitoring how they're doing while they are doing independent work or group work, or the turn and talk. That gave me a lot of insight as to who still needed help, who was still confused, like the one student that I put at one point with Miss Amer, my TA, because I looked at the work she had done and she just mixed up all the goods and services and clearly was a bit confused as to what was going on. There's a lot of methods involved, lots of planning went into these lessons. I think I do a lot of planning for all of my lessons. And I like to immediately give feedback, monitor, and adjust the lesson. For example, I really wanted to do the dojo shop and show in the recording how my dojo shop works, but I couldn't do it because I ran out of time. They needed a lot more help with their activity, with cutting and gluing. I always underestimate how long that's going to take. But they did really well, and I don't mind adjusting the lesson plan and doing something the next day. With regard to the last two standards, 9 and 10, I think at our school we do a really great job with professional development, with making sure that as a grade 1 team, we work very consistently. We meet, we share ideas, we use exactly the same materials, same PPTs, same worksheets just with each teacher's prerogative of how to teach the material, but we keep everything kind of consistent. We set a lot of goals, whole school goals, and just goals for our students. We communicate with parents very often on WeChat, WeCom now, which is just a work version of WeChat. Communicating with parents, letting them know what's going on, what we're covering in class, and how their kids are doing. I think a good example of this would be our end of unit celebrations, where, for example, if we have the end of the personal narrative unit, we invite parents in, maybe 5 at a time, and they just get to see in real time how these students are doing. They get to read their stories to their parents, and the parents get to be really involved in what goes on with our celebrations. So that's one good example of those standards. But I think overall, I think the class went well. I've learned a lot over the course of the clinical program, so I'm just grateful and also a little bit glad that it's done. Thank you.